So why in the world should government-controlled entities have priority over private businesses, huh? I'm Andrei Mincov, the founder of Trademark Factory, and in this video, I'm going to share my thoughts about yet another trademarking screw-up. This time around, it's about a trademark dispute over the mark Fort Calgary for beer. So let me start by reading the article, and you can find the link in the description below. City to sit down with local brewers to resolve Fort Calgary trademark disagreement. Okay, so let's read this. City officials are expected to sit down with local brewers Wednesday to work out a resolution to the cease and desist order over a beer dubbed Fort Calgary. The beer was made in a joint effort between Elite Brewing and Bow River Brewing in January. However, Elite Brewing was hit with a cease and desist order in March because the term Fort Calgary is trademarked by the city. According to the city council, the meeting will allow both parties to air concerns and work to find an appropriate solution. This is not a great looking story for anybody. All the parties are sitting down Wednesday to have a conversation about how to resolve this in a business-friendly, mutually supportive way. City of Calgary, however, on Tuesday would not immediately confirm the meeting. So the conversation is one that should have happened months ago, that's right, but didn't due to poor communication. He hopes to see positive outcomes for everyone involved. The owner of Elite Brewing, Adrian DiMarino, says he believes an equitable resolution will be reached. His understanding of the meeting is that the city also wants to get a pulse on how to improve small business interaction with the city. Well, it has nothing to do with small business interaction with the city. It has everything to do with two things. One is how you didn't do your proper research about the ownership of the trademark, and two, how that trademark actually got to be registered. I'm going to talk about this in a moment. So let's keep going. We want the same thing we wanted at the beginning, which is basically that we don't want to spin up any legal action. We don't have the money for it. Well, of course you don't. Our hope is for it to go away and for the city to recognize that it's not worth it, said DiMarino. The cost to relabel the remaining cans would be about $4,000, according to DiMarino. It would be a steep price to pay after they received written permission from Fort Calgary to go ahead with a name, as long as they stated the beer wasn't affiliated with the fort. The area council says she's reserving judgment, don't negotiate to the media. I'm going into it and I don't have an informed opinion at this time until I hear from our city law department. They said the council said he understands why the city took action because of the trademark term, but believes the situation could be made better if they find a win-win solution that allows both parties to benefit. We are the public body, not a private business, here to make money. Well, that's too bad. Our job is to make people's lives better every day, and this, I don't think, is making people's lives better. Okay. It just robs my libertarian soul so much, like about the governments saying that their goal is to make people's lives better. Not so much. Chu said you'd be glad to see the beer promote Fort Calgary in a positive way. Everybody knows about the beer now, so here we go. Let's make Calgary better and Fort Calgary better too. Okay, so some other council understands the city has a role to play in defending reputation, but he thinks the cease and desist order is excessive. My hope is that this is just a simple misunderstanding. I see what the brewery has done as presenting Calgary in a positive light. My hope is that the city can work with the brewery on this and allow them to proceed, but ensure that Calgary's reputation is upheld. Okay, interesting. Like, these guys are selling beer with a name, and the discussion is, well, how can they sell beer in such a way to make sure that the city's reputation is upheld? What does it even mean? If the city is against somebody selling the beer under that name, if they think that beer under the Fort Calgary name doesn't paint the city in a positive light, then there's nothing to talk about, because it's not about the small business, it's about beer. And if they do feel it's okay for somebody to sell beer, then what exactly does making sure that, this paints city in a positive light even mean? Does it mean a license fee? Or does it mean, seriously, what does it mean? Does it mean they have to make a disclaimer that, it just makes no sense. But what makes even less sense is how this trademark got to be registered. And that stuff is unique to Canada. No other country, as far as I know, has this idiotic regime where government-controlled entities can file a trademark application and they say, well, we're a government-controlled entity. We don't want just a regular trademark. We want a super trademark. And they call them official marks. So let me show you how it looks like in the trademark registry. So let me do the search and just show you. Okay, here's the only one. And you will see that it doesn't say registered. It says advertised. And you will see that it has all classes here. That's usually a good indication that it's an official mark. So let me show you. Let's click it and see what's in there. Okay, so Section 9.1 and 3. And that means in an official mark, it means it's claimed by the government entity, government control entity, and that means that this mark, nobody can adopt or register a mark so resembling Fort Calgary as to be confused that it's the same thing, regardless of products and services that are to be covered by that trademark. So whether it's beer, it doesn't matter that the city doesn't sell their own beer. If it's, if you want to sell whatever, right, trademarking services, or if you want to be, if you want to do marketing services, if you want to sell leather bags, if you want to do, lipstick, doesn't matter. The official mark just requires you to say, that's the mark we want. This is the document that shows we're controlled by the government. And that's all they need to do. And the other problem with this type of trademarks is that you can't kill them. You don't have to renew them. You can't cancel them for non-use. Even if the government-controlled entity stops its existence, if it no longer exists, you still can't go after that official mark. And that's absolutely crazy. So you have to get their consent to file your trademark. And we've done this many times for some of our clients because, a lot of marks are owned by universities. They're also public marks. And so what you need to do is go after them and say, well, our client would like to do this. We don't feel it's going to hurt you in any way. Can we get your consent? And some of them say yes. Some of them say no. And some of them say yes, as long as you pay us some money. So it's kind of a cash cow for them. And there is no requirement for them to use it, right? So they can come up with all sorts of great marks and say, well, we want this as our public mark. And some of them have been doing it. So obviously there is some public pushback. In theory, you're not supposed to, just hoard a bunch of trademarks, especially if you're paid by taxpayers. But this brings me back to what I said in the very beginning. Why in the world do we give priority to government-controlled entities over private businesses? There is absolutely no reason. And guess what? Even if you're a private business, you got your trademark, the government-controlled entity can come after you and register their official mark. And while that official mark will not knock out your previous mark, it would still allow the government to stop you from expanding. So this is an absolutely unfair, arbitrary, horrible decision to have this regime. And unfortunately, so many of you know that Canadian trademark law is about to change. June 17th is when a lot of things are going to be very different in the world of Canadian trademarks. But unfortunately, official marks are still there. They're not going away. We'll see if maybe in another 25 years, something's going to happen and they're finally going to remove this archaic type of trademarks. So, and just to go back here to show you one more thing. So, say section 9, and you will see that it always says advertised because they're not registered. And you will see that they filed it in 2001. The applicant is City of Calgary, and that's all. So, if you're doing your own trademark searches and you see, well, it's advertised, it's not registered yet, make sure you check. Maybe it's an official mark. And if it is, it's a much harder hurdle to overcome than even a normal trademark, because with normal trademarks, you can see, is it going to expire soon? Is it still in use? Are the goods and services different? With official marks, you don't have any of those arguments. So enough about official marks. Let's go back to the whole dispute story. So there's this brewery, right? They have come up with this idea. Let's put out a mark. Let's put out a new beer on the market, call it Fort Calgary. And the mistake they made is they didn't check. Apparently, based on the article, they didn't check whether the name was trademarked, or they checked and they ignored it, because I don't understand. If you're a brewery, really the brand is your most valuable asset. And to launch a beer without owning the brand, without checking if you can even own the brand, if you can even use that brand, is crazy. Because beer label disputes are probably, in the trademark world, is now #1 because there's so many breweries and there's only so many names. So everybody's suing everybody. That happens in the States, that happens in Canada, that happens worldwide. So if you are thinking of starting a beer business, the first thing you want to do before you even start working on your recipe is to do the search, make sure that the name you came up with you can own, and make sure that you file that trademark before you announce it to the world. Because otherwise, chances are by the time you put your beer on the market, that name is going to be taken away from you. So don't do what these guys did, right? To them, $4,000 is a lot of money to rebrand. Well, and maybe it is, but the question is, what's the overall goal when you're launching a brand? If you're a brewery, right, your goal is to make money on this and build a brand that you can grow, build a brand that you can build into something that matters, and that requires that you own the brand, and the only way to do it is to trademark it. Now, if you found this useful, if you found this video helpful in any way, make sure you subscribe now and get notified whenever the next one goes live. There's a new video that you're gonna see on this channel every single day. Like I said, there's a lot of content that you can learn about trademarks, about branding, about entrepreneurship. If that's of interest to you, like I said, subscribe. If you're a brand owner, if you're running a brewery, if you're not running a brewery but you value your brand, make sure you go to trademarkfactory.com and book a free call with our strategy advisors to see if we can be a good fit to help you protect your brand. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.